Let's take a look at last week's market action and what to expect this coming week. All eyes on Eurozone inflation, RBA and ECB rate decisions this week, and U.S. nonfarm payroll release. Let's take a quick look at what happened in the global markets last week and what we need to be aware of for the upcoming week. Wall Street rose at the end of the week but came off the day's highs as shares of biotechnology and small high-growth companies continued to falter. Dow Jones added 58.8 points to close at 1632.3. The S&P 500 added 6 points to 1858. The Nasdaq Composite edged up 5 points to 4156. With the day's advance, the Dow turned positive for the week. The Nasdaq, however, remained on track for a negative week following an extended period of investors taking profits in some of the market's biggest outperformers. The week ahead will be packed with volatility as we see Chinese manufacturing data, the U.S. non-farm payroll report, the RBA interest rate decision, and the ECB rate and meeting. European shares posted further gains to end the week, supported by speculation of further ECB action next week after national inflation data showed a further slowdown. Last week, the Asian Pacific regional markets edged higher, with Wall Street providing a strong lead following a mixed batch of economic indicators, while the Nikkei was lifted by another pickup in Japanese inflation. With few major catalysts to drive business, investors are keeping an eye on the release of next week of key data from China, the United States, and Japan. In corporate news, BlackBerry dropped 7.1% to $8.41. The smartphone maker said sales won't grow until the fiscal year that begins next March, even after cost-cutting helped the company post a smaller quarterly loss than analysts estimated. Restoration Hardware Holdings surged 13% to $71.93. The home furnishings retailer forecasts that adjusted profit will be between 9 cents a share and 11 cents in first quarter, compared with analyst estimates for 6 cents. It said annual profits will be as much as $2.22 a share, beating the average projection of $2.18. In the foreign exchange market, two of the biggest drivers of USD strength were weakened this Friday. Concerns from the market regarding the Chinese economic slowdown were dispelled somewhat after the Prime Minister issued words of assurance. European deflation fears were reduced after Germany, the biggest economy in the EU, posted a slower decline. The euro-dollar was little changed on Friday ahead of crucial data on Eurozone inflation, while the yen slipped against the dollar before Japan's sales tax hike takes effect. The euro rose to 1.3752. The dollar's lack of firm strength was underpinned Friday by fresh data on U.S. inflation. The dollar gained against the Japanese currency, however, to 102.80 yen, ahead of the April 1st hike in sales taxes that economists worry could slow Japan's economic rebound. The euro-yen was little changed, moving to 141.38. The British pound pushed higher to 1.6637, supported by strong economic data with retail sales beating expectations and GDP printing at forecast. Moving to the commodities market, oil prices extended gains Friday as data showed U.S. personal income and spending increased broadly in February. As the United States is the top crude consumer in the world, the recovery of its economy signals more demand ahead. The Ukraine crisis continued to support the crude market. U.S. President Barack Obama on Friday urged Russia to pull back troops from the border with Ukraine and start direct talks with its neighbor. Moscow's next move is a top concern of the West after it annexed Crimea this month. Russia produced more than 10 million barrels of crude a day in January and is the second largest producer of natural gas. More than 70% of Russian crude and gas exports to Europe pass through Ukraine. Light sweet crude moved up 39 cents to settle at $101.67, while Brent crude gained 24 cents to close at $108.07 a barrel. The price of gold is hovering around a 6-week low as signs of improving United States economic growth and easing concerns about Ukraine strengthen investors' interest in the safe haven asset. Gold was trading at $1295.80, a gain of 80 cents. The precious metal had declined 6.5% from its 2014 peak of $1382.92 an ounce on March 14th. This is Amy Anderson from Option Rally signing off. Watch for some exciting changes to Option Rally TV coming in April. Have a great week.